Hey guys, John McNamara, host, running Vegas. We're talking local sports, business, real estate. If you guys like what you see, please like, subscribe, follow us on Instagram, Running Vegas Podcast. And today we got a special guest, Abigail Aglubat, transaction coordinator in the house.
Hi, how are you?
Good, how you doing?
Good. Excited to be here.
Excited to have you on.
Thanks.
Thanks for coming on.
Thank you.
So tell us about you, your story, where you're from, how'd you get into transaction coordination?
Yeah, well, I actually grew up in New York, and then I lived there my whole life until I went to college. I went to college in Arizona, University of Arizona. Go Wildcats.
Wildcat, okay.
And that's where my husband and I met, actually. And after college, we moved to Orange County. And that's where I got my first job in real estate. It was kind of floundering around a little bit. I didn't know what I was doing after college. I was trying to look for jobs. I ended up getting hired as a receptionist at an ERA in Orange County. And that's where I learned about real estate, really knew nothing about it. I just had the personality for front desk, I guess. I was organized. So they said, well, come on board. And they taught me a lot. They taught me a lot about real estate marketing as well. I was able to start doing the ads there. Okay. And then when we moved up north to Northern California, I was like, well, that was fun. Let me find another job in real estate. And I got hired by Peg King in Petaluma, California. Oh. And she really, I have to give a lot of credit to her because her and her team, they taught me so much about real estate. They taught me about transaction coordination. This was back in 2007 to 2008. Oh, wow. So it was an interesting time in real estate, and we were still doing a lot of things on paper. Yep. MLS looked totally different. Yep. There were a lot of short sales at that time, if you were in the business back then. And then, it just kind of developed from there. Everywhere I moved, I looked for another real estate job. I kept learning as I went. I worked for another team in California, Lisa Doyle's team. Okay. And I worked with her for 4 years. It was amazing. I got to do so much, learn so much. And then I moved here to Vegas. Right. So just kind of continued the journey and eventually landed in transaction coordination, and it's been awesome.
Awesome. Well, you're great at it.
Thank you.
So Abigail works for our team, does a great job, so I'm glad you could be on today.
Thank you.
So that's cool. So you and I actually kind of have similar stories. Didn't realize that much.
Oh, I didn't know.
I'm originally from New York as well.
Oh, no way.
Yeah.
Small world.
Yeah. What part?
Westchester County, southern
Albany.
New York. Okay.
So a little bit north of you.
Yeah.
I moved out here when I was 25.
Okay.
I was in the business in 2005, so it sounds like we kind of got in the business around the same time.
Around the same time.
Yeah.
How interesting.
But you were in like the mecca of real estate, California.
Yes.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it was cool.
When did you come out to Vegas? What was the time frame for that?
We have been here, 7 years now. So 2017 is when we moved here to Vegas.
Great.
And I actually went into sales when I first came out here. I got my license before I moved because we knew we were going to come out here, and I was in the process of getting my license in California because I worked in administration, marketing, operations for a team, that sort of thing. And I was getting my license, and then we decided to move here. So I switched over, I got my license here, and my husband said, well, try it out, try out sales for a while, see what you think. So I did for about 6 months, and it was fun. I had a good time, showing buyers homes, doing open houses, things like that. But I really wanted to get back into the administrative side of real estate. It's kind of my wheelhouse. Yeah. And so I reached out to a team leader here in Vegas, Dale Snyder. I had known him through my team leader in California. And so I reached out to him. I said, hey, are you hiring? He brought me on board, and I kind of did a little bit of everything for him for a few years. And then the market center that we were at over at Keller Williams asked me to be their transaction coordinator. So it just kind of developed that way. I mean, none of it was particularly intentional. I just said, well, I like doing this, I like doing this. And I was offered different opportunities, and I just took them. Every time an opportunity came my way, I said, yeah, let's do it,
Good.
And that's how I landed here.
Yeah, it seems like you're doing what your passion is. You're very detail oriented. That's what we really appreciate about you.
Yeah.
So that's
Thank
cool.
you.
Yeah, so Dale has a super successful team, so I'm sure you learned a lot from him.
I learned so much from him, so much from his team, from Erin Camp. She is his partner, Mary Preheim, and they taught me just a wealth of knowledge about real estate, about how to run a team, about just the business aspect of it, which has really helped me a lot in having my own transaction coordination business.
Yeah.
It's really given me the mindset for owning your own business. So I really owe them a lot of gratitude for teaching me that.
That's great.
Yeah.
So to rewind a little bit, because I always love when we get some like true real estate vets.
Yeah.
Because most people have been in the business like 5-7 years, right?
Yeah.
And then they get out. So it's cool. You've been in the business like 20 years, give or take.
That's a long time.
Yeah, I know. We're dinosaurs
God.
in real estate. So this is fun for me.
Yeah.
There's not a lot of us left.
Right.
But we weathered the storm. We're still moving forward. But tell us about the market back in, because anybody who's been in the market for the last 5-7 years and they're kind of complaining about the market and how bad the market is. Can you kind of relay how it was in 2008, 2009, 2010?
Gosh, that
and
was
maybe have a little bit of a comparison and kind of give the folks at home an understanding of what the difference is?
It was definitely a different time in real estate. It was a scary time for a lot of people. A lot of people were really underwater, upside down in their mortgages. They had to get rid of their homes. That's why there were so many short sales at that time. And a short sale process is not easy. It is a huge headache. The logistics of it are nothing like a traditional sale, like what we're doing primarily now. I haven't seen a short sale in so many years.
I think I did one like 2 years ago. I don't even
Luckily.
know how or why it was occurring.
Gosh,
Because the market's gone straight up.
Yeah, and I mean, interest rates too have been crazy, right? Like people complain about, 6%. But, I remember it being, much higher than double that, So, having lower interest rates, and I mean, I know prices are relatively high now compared to what they were maybe 5 years ago. But it's still nothing like, the jump that we saw. So, it's okay. I think we're in a good place right now in terms of real estate.
We are.
Yeah.
It's night and day because, I get flashbacks because I moved out here, I was really smart. Because I was selling real estate in New York, doing well. It's like, you know what? I'm going to move to Vegas.
Right.
Well, the market is completely falling apart.
Falling apart, yeah.
And the average sale was $110,000, all short sales.
Crazy.
I had 40 active listings, had no idea what the heck I was doing, hoping nobody called me any day because I didn't know what was going on. It was just crazy times.
It was crazy times.
So, and you had to sell 40 homes to try to make a decent living. And
here in Vegas this was one of the hardest hit areas in the country. And I think Vegas is where it took the longest to recover.
Yeah.
I think that's accurate. I think that from the peak of the market to the depths of the recession, I think this is where it took the longest to get back to what it was before. Was here in Nevada.
You're right. I think it took like 12, 13 years to recover from it. Because I remember thinking, being out here from New York, the average in upstate New York, as the average price is like, back in the day it was like 200,000, maybe 300,000 now. It hasn't gone up much. It's been kind of a flat out there. It's not a lot of growth in upstate New York area. But when they were 110,000 and you get to live in Vegas, I was like, this is amazing. These homes are going. It didn't make any sense because California it dipped, but not to the level of Vegas.
Right.
But I don't think there was very good infrastructure here. We were kind of built up with the new homes and everything. So
the new homes was a big issue too. Here.
Massive issue.
Yeah.
There were 40,000 new homes a year.
Building all these houses, and then all of a sudden they couldn't sell any of them. So.
And now I feel like we could add the 40,000 homes a year with everybody moving.
For sure.
It's,
easily.
Now it's totally different.
Yeah.
We appreciated 12% this year. which makes no sense.
It's crazy.
With our interest rates at 7%.
Yeah.
So this market's just skyrocketing now. So
Well, the exodus from California
just continues.
just keeps going.
Yeah.
It just keeps going. Every year, there's just more and more people coming from California to Vegas.
I feel like such a old local now, because now I'm complaining about the traffic. like the last year.
I'm not there yet, but
are you doing that yet? Because I am totally that.
I mean, there are days where I'm like, oh gosh, there's a lot of traffic, and then I kind of slap myself across the face, like, do you remember the Bay Area?
Right.
Do you remember Orange
you were
County?
in Cali.
Even we also lived in Hawaii for 4 years, and Honolulu traffic is horrific as well. It's one of the worst in the country as well. And so, I mean, I lived in all the worst traffic areas, so I still can just snap out of it like, oh, this is not bad, But I do find myself saying like, oh, 30 minutes, gosh, that's far to drive.
Yes.
And that's definitely Vegas spoiled.
It's spoiled because it's so dense. Anything over 30 minutes here, I remember if I'm you probably remember too, in New York, it was anything was 30 minutes away.
Everything was 30
You
minutes
go to the mall,
away.
you go to the movies, you go to the everything's 30 minutes away.
Yes,
just
everything.
so spread out.
Yeah.
And then here it's 30 minutes, just there's no way I'm going there. I better take an Uber.
I know.
I don't think I can focus for that long.
Yeah, exactly. Definitely Vegas spoiled.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
But cool. So let's get back into transaction coin. I want to hear more about that. So what's your day-to-day look like?
What's great about, having my own business is I really work my business around my family schedule. Okay. And it's always been a priority for me to be able to be available to my kids. My husband was in the military for a lot of years, and so he was gone, often. And so, I really wanted to make sure that somebody was available to them whenever they needed, and somebody was there to take them to their activities and things like that. And that has sort of carried over. He's no longer active duty, but he still works for the military. So, his schedule can be pretty grueling. So that's the beauty of, my business, is that I know I can take my kids to school, work, pick my kids up from school, work,
That's nice.
And I have that flexibility where, if I need to get caught up on some work in the evenings, I'll work on the weekends, things like that if I need to. And I really love that about this business. So my typical day is I get up, I check my emails, respond to anything urgent early in the morning. Mm-hmm. Then I'll start doing the kid drop off, and anyone who has kids knows that can take quite a while. I have 3 of them. So, I'm taking kids to school, get back to my home where I work from home. I have my home office, and I just sit down and I work until it's time to start picking them up. Excellent. And I always tell my agent clients as well, I'm always available. Reach out via text, phone call, even if I'm in the car or I'm at, an activity. Yeah. I bring my laptop pretty much everywhere. If I go on a trip, I'm in the car, So that flexibility is what makes it great for me.
Yeah, I was going to say that because I was thinking that too when you're bringing up the family, because sometimes people go, does that mean, whenever I call you, 99% of the time you pick up the phone. Yeah. So you are very consistent with that. There's never an issue with that whatsoever. Yeah. You are on top of it. So.
I try to be available, and if I'm not, and this too already, right, is if there's something where I have a scheduled event where I know I need to focus on that, it's maybe a kid's sporting event or something like that. I always let my folks know, like, hey, I'm not going to be available on this day between these hours, just if there's anything urgent, let me know now, otherwise I'll get back to you after.
And that's good to do that too, because with real estate or transaction coordination, I mean, we could do this 24/7.
We could.
Literally.
We could.
So it is good you block some time off for yourself and your family. That's well needed. It's well deserved. You work hard.
You have to.
And I don't even think you've ever blocked anything off with us, but you should. But
Yeah, you have to. I mean, we could work 24/7.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's easy.
But
with all the emails coming in and
Yeah.
So tell me more, what do you like about transaction coordination? What are things that can be difficult about it as well?
What I love about it is that it's never boring. I mean, every transaction is different. Every client is different and everyone has a different process. So it's never boring. I'm always kept on my toes. You know, there's always new challenges. And, you know, new joys, right? You know, sometimes you get these great messages from clients saying how happy they are or thanking you. You know, those little like tidbits of gratitude really just brighten your day. So that's what I do love about it. And I love the satisfaction that I get at the end of a transaction. Like everyone's happy. You know, the clients are happy, the agents are happy, the escrow officers are happy, the lenders are happy, everyone's getting paid, you know, someone got a house, someone sold a house, you know, that's a great feeling at the end of the day, to know that you helped make that happen. Yeah. And then definitely there's always challenges, right? I mean, like I said, different personalities, different challenges all the time. You know, sometimes there's communication problems, right? That can be a huge challenge to deal with. Sometimes there are timeline difficulties, right? Where things need to happen by a certain date and doesn't look like they're going to happen. Sometimes there are negotiations that can be really challenging, and that can hold things up a little bit, right? We've experienced that already in our time working together.
Absolutely.
So, you know, definitely there are challenges, but I think that maybe it's the years that I've been doing this, working in this industry, that it doesn't really bother me. I don't get too stressed about it. You know, I have a sense of like, well, we'll make this work and nobody's going to die.
Right.
Do you know what I mean?
That's a great way to put it.
I think when you start out in real estate, everything seems very dire, and it is very serious, and it is a big deal, and this is a huge purchase, and it's a lot of money being, you know, transacted. But I think keeping that in the back of your mind, like, listen, nobody's going to die. We're not surgeons. You know what I mean? It's going to work out.
So it's so funny you said this, because my dad, who's a broker in the business for over 40 years, he was literally telling me about a story of a nurse that was a nurse for 20 years, and she got into real estate. And she was telling a story because he's like, man, you just never get rattled. He's like, she was like, hey, I was a nurse for 20 years. Nobody's dying in real estate. And it was like a complete shift. Because at the end of the day, it's like the worst case that can happen is it's like it's a money issue or you may get sued, which is not fun. But at the end of the day, it's just kind of money. Like it works itself out, you know. And and by the way, our clients give us great feedback about your service. And that's one thing I really like about you. In terms of personality, I think you're a great fit for transaction court. Because it's always, when I talk to you, it's just very level-headed. You're just very easy to talk to. Things don't really affect you because, as you know, with any client, any transaction, there's always going to be emotional people, or they haven't bought or sold a house in 15 years. You know, and they just don't know how to deal with those emotions, which is a very natural thing. Because I have clients apologize to my team, like, I don't know why I just acted that way. It's like, you haven't bought and sold in 15 years. You know, it's okay. Like, it's our job, because we do it every day to keep it between the lines. But most people, they don't know how to deal with it. So that's why they'll always be going to be real estate agents. So
and I think that's such a good point. It is our job to be the ones who are level-headed, right? Like if everyone else is going to get emotional, right? The buyers and the sellers, you know, it can be very emotional. And sometimes there are significant emotional attachments that are being dealt with, right? Sometimes somebody has passed away. Sometimes people are getting divorced. You know, sometimes it's a financial hardship. That's, you know, there are a lot of big emotional things that can be tied to a real estate transaction. And if we're flying off the handle, that's not helping anybody. Right. So it's definitely like the agents, the transaction coordinators, the escrow officers, we have to stay kind of level-headed, you know, not detached, but, you know, empathetic, I think, but, you know, just keeping everything calm.
Yeah, because I can't tell you, and you know this, it's like when we have an agent on the other end who's either not experienced or emotionally attached to the transaction, it's a completely different transaction, and we kind of have to coach them up on the other end. Because it's a lot easier to work with most experienced, not all experienced agents are the best agents in the world, But most experienced agents, they kind of have that down, you know, if they're doing business on a high level.
Yeah.
So,
And you know which agents are the easiest to work with?
the McNamara team.
Well, yes. And the ones, that too. The ones that have transaction coordinators.
Oh, yeah.
You know, I mean, really, it
That
makes
makes
a big
sense.
difference.
Yeah.
You know, whenever I have a transaction and the other agent has a transaction coordinator
Yeah.
that I can communicate with, 9 times out of 10, it's going to go just that much smoother,
Yeah.
right? They have that
Great point.
support.
Yeah.
You know, they have that support team, and that makes a big difference.
Yeah, I know myself, I wouldn't be able to do it without a transaction coordinator because I am like run around, you know.
You definitely couldn't. You're a busy guy.
But I'm prospecting, I'm going on appointments, you know, we get our call-ins. I really appreciate you because you help me a lot. But I totally agree with you. If you want to scale your business, you got to leverage it out. That's one thing I meant, learning the business right away was find a great transaction coordinator because it makes the world of difference. Because if you're having a busy day showing homes and all this, and a file's going sideways, there's nothing you can do about it. You're just kind of hoping it sticks together, you know?
Yeah.
So.
And you don't have time. I mean, you know, your focus needs to be on, you know, bringing in business.
Yes.
Right? And it can't be on, was this document signed properly?
Right.
That's not the
You don't
best
make
use of
money
your
off of
time.
that.
No, you don't. So that's why, you know, leveraging that is critical.
Absolutely. Yeah, I totally agree with you. And we tell our team is like, make sure you are making money, making activities. That's
Right.
Prospect, go on appointments, negotiate deals, and leverage the most of it out to the transaction coordinator because
Yep.
all the other stuff, you know, it fortunately doesn't make you money. You
No,
know?
it doesn't.
So you got to keep it moving forward and give your clients good service.
Yeah.
I'm always available to have a conversation with a client.
Right.
But you're absolutely right. Those little details, they can, you know, be leveraged out. You know.
Yeah, and
So,
they're very important,
incredibly important.
right?
Incredibly important,
Because-
especially here.
You don't want to get sued.
No. Well, New York. You didn't sell in New York.
Well, I know there's lawyers involved.
Oh, it's the worst.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's the worst. So I sold in New York for 4 years, and lawyers do it, so it's good and bad.
Right.
But we didn't have to care about contracts. So I would just go out, get business, take listings. I was very, you know, in that mode. So when I came out here, I didn't realize the contract had to be fully filled out.
Yeah.
Oh, I was complete. The first 6 months, me in the business, my broker was so over me.
Oh, yeah, I bet.
So I had to learn. But I think it's better here because I sold a home in New York, and the lawyer out there, I mean, he must have screwed up 18 different times.
Yeah.
He waited to the very end to figure it all out. It was stressful, and this was like a duplex in Troy, New York. It wasn't anything crazy. But it was not a good experience, you know. So I think here we're a little bit more in control of providing better customer service.
Yeah.
Deals close in 30 days versus 60 days.
Yes.
The downside of selling here is, you have a better chance of getting sued than out there. It's going to be on the lawyer.
Yeah.
But, you know, as long as you run your business savvy and you're ethical, you really, you know, you should be okay. And we're all going to make mistakes. It happens to agents, but just learn from them and grow and create wins. So
I think having a support team around you that's going to ensure you don't make huge mistakes is so critical too, right? Like having a great broker that you work with, you know, having a transaction coordinator, having a great escrow team, you know, a really trustworthy lender, all of those things, you know, really help to ensure things are done properly, everything's above board, you know, and then you don't have to stress about the possibility of getting sued, right?
Absolutely. You bring up a really good point. It's developing like that team around you and making sure it's high quality people that are doing a high level. Because I know in my experience of being an agent, if it's the transaction coordinator, the title, the lender, whoever it is, if one of them screws up, it's my fault. 9 times out of 10, that client will never work with me again. So it's really important to surround yourself with a really great team. And so that was a really good point you bring up. So
I think that's probably, you know, going back to when you asked about challenges, that is definitely one of the greatest challenges as well, is, you know, or can be. Right? When you have maybe a weak link in the team, right? That can be a huge challenge if the lender isn't really holding up their end. If the title company, isn't doing their side, it can be, if there's a breakdown of communication between any of them and the client, for sure, it's coming back to you.
Yeah. Oh,
right.
Yeah.
It's coming back to you. Those are your people, So unless it's their people, but
sometimes it is.
Sometimes it is.
Most of the time, it's going to be the agent, and I don't think a lot of people understand of how hard it is to cultivate that business. Because once you've been prospecting for 10, 15, 20 years, or whatever you do, open houses, you understand the value of that relationship, and nobody else is really going to get it.
Right.
That's why we really enjoy working with you, because you understand that value. And the thing is, we're all going to screw up at some point. It's just how we work through it. We create wins for the client, make it better. Sometimes you can win over clients and have a better relationship after you screw up, because you take responsibility and you create a win for them.
Yes.
Sometimes you can actually have a better relationship.
Yes.
But it's just how who you surround yourself and how those people react. And you don't really know until it starts going down that hole.
That's true.
But I like that you have high standards. We have high standards. And I think that's why we work well together.
Yeah,
So
definitely.
we appreciate that about you, for sure.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think, the role of a transaction coordinator is really managing all of those components, and managing those relationships between those other folks and the client.
Yeah.
Right? I'm making phone calls to clients saying, okay, let me talk to the lender. Let me talk to the title company. I'll reach out to these folks for you, and kind of smoothing out any rough spots to make sure the client is really happy and that they want to come back and work with you again or refer people to you.
Yeah, and that's huge, because you know what to say and do. You're not going to get emotionally rattled, because I know I have clients, and this happens all the time. We have clients and they talk to title or whatever, and that conversation goes sideways real quick.
Can.
So it's great to have that middle person to kind of like, hey, that's what I like to do with my clients. Let's take it off your plate so you don't even have to stress about it.
Right.
I just want you to, focus on moving, and enjoy your new house or your move, whatever. But I don't like, maybe that's my control issues that I have, but I don't like chancing it up to other people.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I think, you give the opportunity for them to do what they need to do, and if it's not getting done properly, then sometimes you step in and just say, well, let me just take care of it. Let me handle it for you.
Do you have any fun transaction coordinator stories you want to share, or no? Is that off limits? Nothing with my files, though.
I don't know if it's fun. I mean, I get we're talking about challenges, right? There's definitely
challenging stories.
I do have a very challenging story that I recently dealt with, and anonymous, of course. But we had a no, we're not going to put anyone on blast. But I had an agent that I'm working with, and the agent is wonderful, and we have a great relationship, and we used a title company that we didn't know that was the request of the buyer. And the communication was really terrible, really terrible. Things were very slow. Things weren't getting done on time. Communication was going unreturned, meaning, I was reaching out for updates, documents, questions, and not getting answers. And and that can really just make things completely fall apart.
Oh yeah.
And this was actually a pretty complicated transaction, because a loan was being assumed, which is not really standard, right?
No.
We don't have a lot of those.
No.
But so it was complicated, and communication was really poor. So it was, twofold, and things were not going very well, but, we were able to work through it. Thankfully, it just took a lot of follow-up, a lot of extra attention, and, a lot more of my time than I normally would put in, right? But that's okay. We make it happen, and we were able to close. Thank God, know. So in the end, everyone's happy, right? They got to sell their house. Buyers are happy.
Got it done.
Got it done.
Sometimes it's the most satisfying. So.
It is. It's satisfying. It's also a relief.
Oh, I bet. I've been there.
You know?
I've been on some files where I'm counting the days. I'm just like, oh my God, I'm getting a beer after this one.
Yeah. You know, when you finally erase it off I don't know, you have a whiteboard. I keep a whiteboard.
Okay, cool.
Of all of my transactions. When I erase one off like that, I'm like, whew, you know?
Yeah. Luckily, I haven't had a bad file in a while. I don't want to jinx myself, but it can be really long transactions when you're dealing with some interesting type of people or bad services like a title company or a lender that doesn't return calls or you have no idea what the heck's going on. So I've been there, and then you're trying to make things right and you have no information. That's the key. I will say this, if anybody's watching, if you're in any service, just communicate with people. It's 100%. Not that hard. Even if you don't know what's going on or whatever, or you don't have an answer, it's okay. Just tell people I'm working on it. And that relieves a lot of the stress, because when you don't hear from somebody, you just assume they're not working and they don't care. Yeah. And that's where, a lot of the stress can come from.
It's scary when you don't hear back.
No, you're like, what the heck's going on? And usually that's a telltale sign it's not going to close, but.
Yeah, and I'm looking at the dates all the time, you know, so when I counting down dates and I'm not hearing back from anybody, I get really nervous. Yeah.
Well, I want to thank you for being on. Really appreciate it, guys.
Thanks for having me.
If you need a great transaction coordinator, Abigail is your gal. Guys, this is Run in Vegas. Take care of yourselves today.
Bye.